Okay, so based on our sour candy study, you've got here all the raw results that provide values for ratings from a survey that subjects in Group A, as you can see up here, from 2021 provided, and those from Group B. And so each of the survey questions asks for a ranking. And if you look at the range of these, you can see that there's kind of a pattern here. If you just eyeball this almost like a scatter plot, you could see that the range is about 1 to 4. So it's pretty consistent. There's no outliers. Same thing here. There's pretty high rankings for these numbers, so you don't have like any outliers like a 1 or 2 showing up randomly there. So there's some pretty consistent results going on here. And what you want to do is take this raw data for each question and start churning it into something meaningful. And that's what we're going to do now. Now, if you pass your cursor over the divider of the ABCD columns, you can see the full question on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very sour and 1 not sour. How would you rate the fuzzy peach? And over here you can calculate the mean, and that's why I put this little label down here. So let's click on this row 10 here, and let's set a color for it, so just so that we can easily find any cells that will have the mean. And there, go to the paint bucket. I'm going to choose green, so I know green is going to be mean. And I'm going to do that for Group B. And we have the 2019 results. So we'll do that down here. Type mean and set it to green. And the same thing here. Okay. And now let's do the formula calculation. So I go into the green cell for C21. And I'm going to take this little formula tool here, and I'm going to click on that and say, give me the average, which is basically the mean. And I'm going to click on the first cell and drag up, and basically telling it I want the average for all of these cells, and hit enter. Oops, I need to scroll down here because I'm doing Group B, which is okay because I have to do it anyway. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Average, scroll up, then hit enter once I've got all the values I want in the average, and do that for all of the cells. Okay, so I just fast forwarded here and entered all the averages in for each of the mean cells. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just change the color green for the 2019 groups. I'll keep it green the entire row, but I'll choose a different green just so that I know I'm dealing quickly visually. I know that yes, the green is the mean, but it's 2 different years. Okay, and we could shrink these cells back, or you can keep them large. The other thing you're going to want to do is get your means down to maybe 1 or 2 decimal points. So for example, this 9.83333, you can go to Format, Number, and choose Number. There we go. Now if you wanted to do all of them at once, you could hold, let's say, each cell. I'm gonna click on this cell, then holding my Command key, oops, not that one, I could click, here I'll just drag across here, and then do the same thing. I'm still holding my key, my Command, and I'm going to drag across here and grab the means, and then these two. So basically what I've done is I've selected every cell at once, and then if I go to Format, Number with 2 decimal places, now they all have 2 decimal places, so it's a more consistent read. So now that we've got all the means, we want to perhaps create a new table. And you can either create a new sheet for that. So down in the lower left here, you have this plus sign. And you could create a new sheet. or you could just come down here and use this space. But I think for the purposes of this data set, I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. So I have my raw scores and means here, and I'm going to hit this plus sign, and this is where I'm going to make my tables, and from the tables I'm going to generate the graphs. So I'm going to bring the means over here. Okay, so to expedite things here, I started putting in some categories, and I basically just followed the order in which the questions occurred. So if you look here for 2021, the first column or question was how sour was how sour would you rate the fuzzy peach, and the next one was how likable was the fuzzy peach, and the same thing here, how sour was the warhead, how likable was the warhead. And we have, this is group A and this is group B. So in my separate sheet I have, in order that the questions were asked, fuzziness, fuzzy peach sourness, fuzzy likability, warhead sourness, warhead likability, group A, group B. Across here I'm going to select these cells and I'm going to merge them with this little button over here, and I'll put this as 2021, and also I want to center that, and I'm going to copy this graph here because I also have the 2019 data, so maybe I'll put the 2019 data somewhere down here. This is kind of like a sandbox. You're just playing around with stuff. And this is 2019. Okay, next I'm going to grab the means and enter them here. So if we look at the means over here, we have, for this group, let's shrink these columns for a second here. Bring them all in nice and close. Here are the means for group A 2021. I'll just copy those. Come back over here and paste them. Oh, that's interesting. It's pasting formulas from the previous sheet because these answers, these means are actually, if you look up here, there's the formula. It is average of C3 to C9. You can see that up here. So it's trying to paste, when I did that, it actually pasted a formula C3 to C9, but there's nothing in C3 to C9 on this page. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to go paste special, and I'm going to go values only. I don't want the borders. And there we go. And we have that problem from before with the decimal places. So I'm going to select all of that data and go format number, put it down to 2 decimal places. And we'll do the same for the rest of the data. Just fast forwarded there a bit and getting my last set of means. So I click on that first cell to the fourth one and Command C to copy, jump back to the sheet. And remember, it's 4 cells in a row I copied, so when I paste here, it's going to paste in the same order, the first, second, third, fourth cell, because I selected them all at once on this sheet and copied them. When I paste them here, I go edit, paste special, values only, it pastes them in the same order. And because they're still selected, then I can immediately go to the format, number, format. Okay, so I've got 2 tables created now. Now you can color these up and distinguish them. So here I might put like, what color did I have this one? I had this as kind of an orange color, and the other ones were kind of a blue, 2019. So I'll be consistent with that, and I'll give this kind of an orange masthead and this one kind of a blue one. And I may also want to put borders around this. So let's select all of these cells from here and choose borders around and inside. And same thing for here. And now you've got a couple of tables. And you may eventually want to combine these tables as well. We might want to combine these so that we we have groups A and B across years, and I'll look at that later, so that we can have a comparison. If we make a histogram, we can have a comparison of the means for fuzzy sourness compared from 2021 to 2019, and visually see in a graph how that's represented. So that's when we start to really play around with our data and structure our tables differently. But for now, I'm going to keep them like this, and I'm going to generate my first graphs. And I want graphs that are going to be meaningful and say something representative about the data. Now we're going to go ahead and generate a simple chart, but there are many different levels of types of histograms, graphs, line graphs, pie charts that you could use that represent the data and in an informative way and visually tell us what's going on. But I'm going to do the simplest one here. Very basic. I'm going to select just my main categories, group A and B, and the headings, fuzzy sourness, legable, etc. And while they're selected, I'm going to insert a chart. You can also go to the insert menu and choose insert chart from here. And I'm going to move this over here for now. And there are various toggles and menus and so on and so forth that you can play with here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the rows and columns like this. And you notice my categories suddenly appear. And if I click on here, I can see, as I pass my cursor over here, sorry, hold on. As I pass my cursor, I see the mean is 3.17. So I can tell that red is actually group B down here. So that means, as you can see here, Warhead Likeable is 6. That's from group A. So I do want to identify the groups up here, but they're not currently identified. Let me click the 3 dots here, and let's edit the chart so we get our customization options up here. I'm going to click on this, use column C as headers. And there we go, the headers appear. I'm also going to go to the Customize menu over here. And if you choose Chart Style, actually that's under Setup, I'm thinking. You have different, if you go back to Setup, you have your different charts that you can use. I'm going to go to Customize right now and just customize this basic chart. And I'm going to label the axes. So first, let's start with the chart title. You can name it whatever you want. Let's do 2021 bias experiment. And I can center that title. And you have, the colors of the font and so on and so forth, the size. You can choose that there. If I go to this pull down menu and then I choose the horizontal axis title, I come into this field and we'll call it Candy Types. There we go. That appears down here. Let's go to the vertical axis and sourness ranking or whatever. You don't have to name it this. I'm just naming it whatever quickly. And there you see we've got our first simple histogram created from our simple table. You can do one for 2019, but remember, you can also make a new table with these two tables, combine the data. So you could have fuzzy sourness 21, fuzzy sourness 19, and so on, and they could all be in one long table, and then you could generate a new graph from that, combining all of those cells and seeing what you get. You can even calculate a mean for group B from 2019 and 2021 and see what is for example, the sourness of the warhead here was 8.83 for group B, and here it was 8.75. So what's the new mean for the years combined? So you can make a table where you have combined years, and you can look at the results from that and then compare it with the results from each year individually. Was there a jump? Was there a big shift? That can tell you in terms of the longitudinal aspect of the study how consistent it was, and therefore how reliable because if the results are pretty consistent, for example, the likability of the warhead or the sourness of the warhead here, you can see 5.3 versus 5.6 versus group B's 8.7 versus 8.8. And over here, the likability, almost double, even though the numbers are different. Down here for 2019, almost double. Why? Why do we get these results? And that's what once you've got all your data and you explain how you set up your tables and why you chose the certain graphs you did, and explain the graphs and what they're reflecting, then you move on from your results section into your discussion section, where you describe the data that you got, the results that you got, and then interpret it. Why did those results come out? What do they mean?